Burger shops are a dime a dozen, but there's nothing more iconic in the sandwich sphere than the green and yellow of a Subway sandwich. The brainchild of a teenager and nuclear physicist, Subway catapulted itself into international success and raked in billions of dollars in revenue. But with a legacy as contradictory as its opposing arrows, and a fall from grace taking it from the world's largest franchise to a net loss spanning years, here is the dark truth about Subway. If you're thinking of getting a sandwich, odds are you're thinking of Subway. It's quick, it's fresh, it's healthy, and there's probably one around the block. Subway took all the convenience of fast food and paired it with all the nutritional value of a handmade salad, turning itself into one of the most successful food companies in the world. But what if there was more to the story? Let's start at the beginning, where, like most stories about the American dream, it started in New York. Fred DeLuca was born on the 3rd of October 1947 in Brooklyn, New York. He lived the typical life of the mid-20th century boy, growing up alongside a sister and his Italian-American parents. At the age of 10, the DeLuca family would relocate to Amsterdam, New York, and make the acquaintance of a man who helped change the legacy of their family forever, Dr. Peter Buck. The family would not stay in New York, however, and by the time he hit his teens, Fred and the other DeLucas were moving up along the coast to Connecticut. There, Fred would complete his secondary education and set his sights on medical school, with dreams of a profession that would help people. In order to turn his ambition into a reality, Fred sought out the advice of Peter Buck, family friend and nuclear physicist. The two agreed on one thing: Fred needed money to pursue his education. As the saying goes, give a man a fish and he eats for a day. Teach a man to fish and he eats for a lifetime. And so Fred came up with a plan: a healthy restaurant as quick as a fast food joint with a fraction of the fattening goods. With $1,000 lent by Peter, equivalent to a little under 10 grand today, Subway was born at 3851 Main Street in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Originally named Pete's Super Submarines after Fred's funder and family friend. The concept of a sandwich was hardly a revolutionary one, even in 1965. But in a world where fast food meant enormous platters of grease and cholesterol, the made-to-order, seemingly healthier option was widely welcomed by the American public. However, it would take a couple of years for Subway to truly take off. Their first year of operations, like with many new businesses, was more about learning than succeeding, though they did see an above-average amount of success that would allow them to fund their first expansion effort. Year one served to highlight the importance of marketing and visibility for a budding brand. Their first location was a self-admittedly crummy one, but Fred was nothing if not a fast learner. In the years that followed, Subway steadily grew under Fred's guidance, and by 1974, there were 16 separate Subway locations. It was at that point that, like any other successful fast food company, Subway began to franchise. The company exploded in popularity following franchising, and by 1978, Subway opened the doors to their 100th location. However, this insane growth wouldn't stop there, and after just 9 years, in 1987, Subway hit the 1,000-store mark. It was a little over a decade later, though, that they would truly begin to summit to the peak of their success. Subway had a lot more going for it than just being the token healthy option amongst the fast food joints. They were one of the first establishments to implement the practice of letting the customer watch their food be prepared, a very popular model that added to their freshly made appeal. They were also remarkably affordable compared to what customers typically associated with health food, with sandwiches capping off less than $1 when the restaurant was first established. Additionally, Subway's healthy fresh image was so integrated with the brand that they were able to secure partnerships that were completely off the table for the typical fast food joint, allowing them to open outlets in untapped markets like hospitals. But more than any of that, Subway had a story. Fred had learned early on that marketing was integral to the success of any company, so when the perfect story presented itself on a silver platter, or a paper wrapper rather, Fred immediately capitalized on it. Jared Fogle was an Indiana man who lost a whopping 245 pounds through what he called a Subway diet. He consumed only Subway sandwiches for the duration of his weight loss journey, and Fred DeLuca knew a good story when he heard one. By 2000, Jared Fogle was the face of Subway, toting around an old pair of jeans and a lithe physique. At the height of the heroin chic craze of the late 90s and early 2000s, slender bodies were all the rage. Consequently, weight loss was on the mind of many Americans and consumers around the world. With an entire marketing campaign centered around Fogle's transformation through Subway and outlets popping up across the globe, consumers flocked to the sandwich shop for the healthiest fast food on the market. By the end of 2010, Subway became the largest fast food chain in the world, surpassing McDonald's with their 33,749 locations. So how does a business that big take a turn for the worse that has led to hundreds of thousands of dollars of net losses since 2015? Well, having such a clear image of the brand meant that it was quite easy to spot when it veered away from its own core tenets. Subway's whole brand was centered around the concept of healthy fast food. Unfortunately, it was discovered that it wasn't all that healthy. If you skipped the sauces and stuck to plain bread, protein and veggies, you could assemble a healthy sandwich. Unfortunately, Subway was only the paragon of health if consumers forgo taste. But loading up on any other options, from sauces to meats, kind of just made it like any other sandwich. By the mid to late 2010s, customers were increasingly complaining that the so-called fresh produce was anything but. In fact, many claimed that the ingredients offered were straight up rotten. Unfortunately, this proved to be more than just a bout of bad press, when Business Insider confirmed the claims with employees and franchise owners of the brand. Subway received just one, and at most 2 weekly produce deliveries. That meant that for the rest of the week, customers were piling week-old lettuce and tomatoes onto their sandwiches. A far cry from fresh. Franchisees couldn't even rectify this issue on an individual basis, as Subway allegedly revoked the licenses of owners who tried to arrange more frequent deliveries with local suppliers. In addition to rancid produce, Subway sandwiches also contain the less than savory ingredient also used to produce yoga mats. While azodicarbonamide is apparently used in a lot of products as a dough strengthening agent and FDA approved, consumers did not take well to the news that their diets had something in common with a rubber mat. The ingredient is banned in Europe and Australia, which added further fuel to the fire, battering the once healthy name of Subway. To their credit, Subway did remove it from their recipe, but the damage had been done. There was also the brief issue of footlongs not being a foot long, but that was eventually settled by the fact that Subway had standardized production methods, and any discrepancies in size were a result of natural fluctuations while baking. Unfortunately for Subway, the mid to late 2010s would strike another blow in the form of spokesperson Jared Fogle, who in 2015 was investigated by the FBI and convicted of crimes against children. The brand cut all ties with him, but that year would mark the first in a steady stream of net losses from the company. As Subway's squeaky clean image was stripped away layer by layer, the brand saw a steady decline in popularity as the years went by. Consumers turned to any of the countless competitors that had cropped up, that sold genuinely healthy food, and patronized Subway less and less. 2015 would mark the last year that the company would make a net profit, and though they would attempt, through various redesigns, to make a comeback, Subway has never again reached the same level of success it boasted in the late 2000s. The dark truth about Subway is that it's just like every other restaurant. Despite framing themselves as the healthier and fresher alternative, they're really not all that special. In a world where the kitchen is more customized to the consumer than ever before, Subway just doesn't make the cut anymore.